choose to go first, but Grant gets to draw 2 cards after some mulligans. So I think that's a nice payoff. Don't get blown up by Moonlight Shuriken. In exchange, my opponent starts with 2 extra cards in the hand. Getting down into the game finally. Andrew Hedrick starts with Origin Form Dialga V in the active spot and benches a Radiant Greninja. Discards 1 metal energy from the hand to draw 2 with concealed cards.
This isn't great. There's no Buddy Buddy, no Nest Ball, no nothing. We're passing the turn.
Just a Bidoof in the active spot. There's still a lot of leeway for Andrew to recover this pretty anemic opening of his. Pokestop, raw.
Oh.
Only gets a canceling Cologne. He rubbed his hands together to try to make that into something, but not seeing too much off of Pokestop. Just going to go Ultra Ball, discard that canceling Cologne and the Lightning Energy. Regan Retzloff did this beautifully in his games on stream. Get the Lightning in the discard pile early on, and that way, when it's time for Iron Hands EX, just bring it right back with superior energy retrieval. That's right. You want to know where this card is at all times so that you can potentially work in those additional prize cards, maybe sneak in a way to surprise your opponent. But at this spot now, it's multiple Ultra Ball. You're going to lose a lot of resources in this hand. Radiant Greninja has the opportunity to bail you out. Maybe find one of those Nest Balls, Buddy Buddy Poffins. Gonna need some help, though. Ultra Ball does pick up Radiant Greninja, so that's going to be nice. Grant Shen, as we've seen time and time again, moves all his Pokemon to the front, takes a really deep dive into the list to study, see what's missing with the prize cards before doing a heavy shuffle to fully randomize that deck and keep on playing. A lot of chatter, a lot of back and forth between both players. They very much enjoyed their tournament runs, playing decks that they enjoy. And, you know, Andrew Hedrick playing Dialga. Who'd have thought it'd be us in the finals? Not me. I knew I was going to see Chen Pao. There were plenty of those lined up. There were rumors that Dialga V was pretty favored into Charizard, but nobody was brave enough to actually take the time to test it until Drew Kennett, I believe it was, had a nice, solid performance at a previous regional, and now Andrew Hedrick has picked up the torch and taken it all the way here to the finals of Indianapolis. As Pablo says, the Dialga Leavers are finally showing up. Ooh, this was important. We saw the Frigibacks thrown back in with the Super Rod, but it's the Nest Ball that will be the payoff card here to at least have an additional resource, as Frigibacks is going to be very vital. Now Grant has to consider, does this Ultra Ball go for Chen Pao and promote that in the active and find water energies? Do you go for second Frigibacks and sacrifice this lone Bidoof? I think I don't like any of that. If you are anticipating the game not to go too long, it feels as though the game is going to be decided, right? Who's going to get established first? Who's going to get their big knockouts first? Maybe Grant Shen is willing to give up the longevity of the barrel and instead opt for another Frigibacks or Chen Pao, as you said. So, yeah, with these resources that we see, obviously Ultra Ball, double superior energy retrieval, these are cards you don't want to throw away if you don't have to. Maybe it's energy retreat into Radiant Greninja and pass the turn over. Hopefully your opponent, even though they've already shown weakness, doesn't at least have energy attachment or not even energy attachment. As long as it's the Dialga V-Star and a boss's orders, that'd be enough to remove the Frigibacks from play, which is pretty dangerous. And if they're going after Frigibacks, there is still the threat with Radiant Greninja being safe, because Andrew Hedrick would need to find Buddy Buddy Poffin here, get some Beldums, try to evolve them in a Matang before it's too late and they get taken out by Moonlight Shuriken. Oh, the next card is a Nest Ball. Was that close to a Beldum, but it will show up on this turn now. We see boss's orders in hand, but there is no Dialga V-Star. Pokestop could change that. You could go and spin the wheel, try to find Ultra Ball. I don't really love that right here. Radiant Greninja can draw some additional cards, but you're looking for a little more help than this. Yeah, Andrew Hedrick has really been leaning into Zamazenta for a lot of the games we've seen him play on stream. Has Mew EX in the hand, a card that he dislikes playing, at least in this matchup. Really doesn't like to put these easy prize cards into play. It's nice, it's cheeky to use genome hacking to copy Moonlight Shuriken in certain spots. But generally speaking, if you've got Radiant Greninja in play, you don't need the Mew EX. But I'm wondering if in this position he's that desperate for Buddy Poffins and potential for Beldums, if he can thin the hand down and restart to see a little bit more.
Yeah, of course, Beldums played down early are going to be one of the most important pieces to the deck. You need to evolve those into Matangs, which have that safety threshold, 100 hit points, protects you from that Moonlight Shuriken, which is potentially something you can see as early as the second turn. Grant's going to roll up the slaves once more. As soon as you see that card, you know game's on, and you just hope to see only one.
Yeah, Grant Shen is happy. He was incredibly confident in his top 4 match, and he always strikes this perfect balance of being very locked in, but also relaxed. These veteran players don't let a lot of nerves get to them, even here in the finals of the largest regional of all time. And Andrew Hedrick, with so many regional wins under his belt as well, feeling very comfortable in this hot seat. And both players a little bit more chatter, very much enjoying their match, discussing the matchup in general, both perhaps speculating that they're going to have to be playing this matchup a lot more in the future.
Yeah, well, they also have a bonding opportunity here, too, where both of them are not drawing ideal.
It's going to be a slow game, and there's a lot of time on the clock.
Don't judge me for the ridiculous things I may have to do. I might spin that wheel.
That's the Dialga player mindset. I have to do some very ridiculous things to stay in the game. Please look away while I spin this Pokestop and hope for a buddy
Here we
Poffin.
go. Spin the wheel. Ultra Ball would be a nice find.
Okay, Nest Ball's not too bad. That's another Beldum.
Yeah, 2 Beldum. I wonder which Pokemon would want to do something about that.
Nest Ball, 1 more Beldum. It's fine. There's no way he's going to have the rare candy back Excalibur. Superior energy retrieval. Every time you say that out loud, there's no way they have it. Chen Pao has it.
This is why you don't go for the second Beldum, because you can't afford to give your opponent not only those 2 cards, but also those 2 prizes. And maybe you can find an opportunity where you are developing a threat in the active spot. You can take a knockout, or at least put pressure on your opponent, and then stick down the 2 Beldums. Hopefully, they're able to evolve on that following turn.
This matchup becomes very strange without access to Matang. You're cobbling together a lot of low economy attacks with just a couple energy attached onto a Dialga V-Star, for example, trying to rely on Zamazenta as your end game attacker to close out versus Chen Pao, try to take down Iron Hands EX, for example.
Skarzig, do you want to play 2 Super Rod to see 1 card to hopefully see Dialga V-Star?
It's a line that, you know what, you're already on the crazy train. You spun the stop, thin down, draw some with Mew EX. I've done it before.
I like the safer approach, but it'd be so cool if you knocked out Frigibax this turn. Understandably so. Not worth that kind of risk. Iono is played down.
Okay. And a buddy off of this would be fantastic. Ultra Ball and a Matang, beautifully done, can evolve the Dialga V in the active spot.
Yeah, this brings up some questions.
Is this everything he needs?
Well, I mean, energy is there, but you can't take the knockout anyways. The max that you're dealing is
120.
120, so you're a little
Radiant
short.
Greninja, 130 HP, surviving so many pinches in the early game thanks to that key number. So Andrew Hedrick opting to spread the energy around. Not too shabby.
Yep, metal coating is going to be the play. Hold on to those resources and stick to the game plan. Single Beldum on the opportunity for the Moonlight Shuriken. Don't give your opponent all of that momentum. Both of those prize cards. Unfortunately, you gave them a new hand, and there's potential for this to be gas, but barrel to start.
Ultra Ball discards a Silene. Grant Shen knows this game is not going to go too long. Doesn't need this late game resource.
In my heart forever.
And this play with metal coating, having this Dialga V in the active spot with 3 energies attached, forces Grant Shen to put his foot on the accelerator, get a Chen Pao out here to take this threat from the active spot before Star Chronos happens.
Well, this hand, there's Chen Pao, there's energy to retreat, there's Irida to search out rare candy back Excalibur. Full restart with the Industrious Incisors ready to roll, and Heavy Ball to find the backup Bidoof. it lines up so smoothly, but you have to have a knockout on this active Dialga V, because if your opponent's able to work in the Star Chronos this early, there's no way that you have a Baxcalibur after 2 turns back-to-back.
Exactly. So now, with the Bidoof, found from Heavy Ball, put onto the bench, Industrious Incisor drawing up. Rare Candy is there. Concealed cards to discard the Water Energy to draw 2 more, Kyle.
Yep. Finds the payoff card in the Rare Candy, but has yet to use the Irida.
Yeah, flipping through the hand very quickly. That tells me he has the play lined up and is just thinking about the sequencing. It is going to be Irida, of course. Finds Baxcalibur, and what's the item card from this position?
Yeah, you could maybe even go for Earthen Vessel if you want to hold on to the Superior Energy Retrieval. I think there's that opportunity in combination with Shivery Chill to take the knockout with just 4 water energies.
You didn't have this turn 2 C-Pow attack.
But it just depends on what Grant values at this point. He's only got the 1 Frigiback, so maybe finding that second one would bring him a little more solace, as he knows that Boss's Orders chained together with Star Chronos is dangerous for him.
Mm-hmm. And the item pick from Irida is going to be Buddy Buddy Poffin, just some additional discard fodder. And Andrew Hedrick and Grant Shen are very aware, they're discussing it on the table now, how volatile this matchup is, how it is the strike and counter-strike oriented gameplay, forcing your opponent to keep up with your threats and your pacing. Otherwise, they will get put completely in the dirt.
3 water energies already in the discard pile. There's the Buddy Buddy Poffin you just found. It's not exactly the resource you want, but you have everything you need. Rare Candy, Baxcalibur, energy to move the Radiant Greninja and bring the Chimp-Out into the active spot.
Yep, 4 water energy. The knockout is there. Grant Shen buying himself some time, right? Getting a threat off of the board is so important just to stay alive.
This is definitely a line you can go down as well.
Tell me about this. Moonlight Shuriken, I wasn't considering just going after the Beldum, saying, well, but what if you can't Star Chronos, though?
The issue here is when you remove the Metang, Star Chronos isn't available. There's only 3 energies on the Dialga V, so Dialga V Star isn't going to be able to reach that threshold. The issue is the Radiant Greninja can be knocked out if there's the other resources, maybe a Boss's Orders or whatever. You could knock out Baxcalibur, have Dialga V Star in play, and start to bench Beldums. So you have this window of opportunity for Andrew now to put a threat in play, but also maybe work in that Metang on the following turn.
And this is double Beldum now. Means that Andrew Hedrick must respond to Radiant Greninja, or else get punished once again by Moonlight Shuriken. And by doing so, must give up the Dialga V in the active. There is a line here of attach another energy, go for Temporal Rupture, versus trying to evolve the Dialga V and save the energy. You have to attach 4 either way, like we talked about with Metal Blast. So I do like the Rupture here.
Yep, this accomplishes the knockout. Once again, new hand. We see that 3rd Beldum that could be played down, so Metang would be guaranteed, even if Super Rod were able to bring back Radiant Greninja and it would be able to take down the 2 Beldums. It's just a dangerous spot.
3 Beldums, just like across the table, we see 3 Frigibacks from time to time. Andrew Hedrick trying to remain resilient versus the threat of Moonlight Shuriken to keep Star Chronos down as a threat. With Radiant Greninja being knocked out, Andrew Hedrick takes 1 prize to even things up, and Grant Shen immediately promotes Chen Pao to take a response knockout against Origin Form Dialga V.
Right, is this enough pressure now? Do you respect it in this regard? Because this is a 4 energy Dialga V. You have to assume that it's going to take knockouts, work in Star Chronos, put you in a difficult spot, but you also want to remove those Beldums. You don't want them to be Metangs. We saw how important that was to Grant on the previous turn. But your opponent can also just Star Chronos if you don't handle this Pokemon. They could re-bench Beldums and then evolve them into Metangs on the next turn. You don't get a chance to Moonlight Shuriken them.
Yes, I love this split threat. of, well, now it's just one more energy attachment, even if I don't have Matang. So Grant Shen doesn't want to go out of his way to recover the Radiant Greninja, wants to start beating down. Going to go for Pokestop. Nest, and Cypher Maniac going to the discard pile. Immediately cashes in both Nest balls.
Wants to hold one because Super Rod leads to finding that Pokemon with the final Nest Ball, but he has to thin the hand down enough so that he can make use of the barrel.
Still has Baxcalibur. Nice Super Cold attachment, thinning down even more.
Yeah, at
And
this
again.
point, your superior energy retrieval is the way that you will use this Pokemon. You find that Irida's found.
And another Chen-Pao. And you can't put this on the bench because of Star Chronos Metal Blast, giving up 4 prizes into that combo turn. Grant Shen has to play this more like Lost Box, where you play your big attacking threat, get it powered up immediately at the same turn. Andrew Hedrick isn't playing, has 4 Iono, and hopefully Bibarel can get him out of those situations to recover these cards if he does get punished for needing to keep them in hand like this.
The resources are there. The Super Rod is able to bring back the Radiant Greninja. Superior Energy Retrieval also lined up. There's even a world where you rare candy into the second Baxcalibur if you want to play down a ton of cards and refill with the second Industrious Incisors.
This is the break. This is certainly the break point. Andrew Hedrick has now, with the Dialga-V in the active spot, threat of up to 3 Matang next turn and another Dialga-V on the bench with an energy attachment. The likelihood of Star Chronos happening almost regardless of what Grant Shen does in response is massive. His only saving grace certainly is that Andrew Hedrick maybe only takes 3 prize cards with that combination rather than ending the game outright.
Yep, Radiant Greninja is found. You can try to target down these Beldums, remove them from play, but at that point you're left in a pretty precarious situation as Dialga V-Star is likely going to show up. You have the Star Chronos that could target down Baxcalibur, maybe remove another Baxcalibur. If you move both those from play, you're in a dangerous spot. So Grant Shen now, along with setting up the energies for Moonlight Shuriken, also has to leave enough energies in play to threaten with a Chen-Pao. So how many energies can you find on this turn? You have the 1 superior energy retrieval. It's not a lot of energies, but at least you'll have 1 prize card available, even if the Miracle Star Chronos turn happens.
After the Superior, 3 go on to Radiant Greninja, perhaps 1 more kept in the hand, which is what Grant Shen likes to do. Decides to attach now to keep the Chen-Pao fully ready to go to take up arms on the next turn.
Ooh, doesn't like the Radiant Greninja. I feel like those prize cards would be available if you work in the Radiant Greninja final time, but these Metangs, once they're at 100 hit points, they're going to stick around.
Grant Shen playing the odds here. You need potentially Ultra Ball to find Dialga-V, potentially Ultra Ball to find Matang. With no Radiant Greninja, that's less card draw to get those cards. Your hand is pretty big. I don't think you can thin down and go for a restart on Mew. I know you want to use Boss's Orders this turn with Star Chronos, so that means no research, no Iono to find those cards. And what I'm seeing in the hand right now, Kyle, I don't know if Dialga V-Star's there.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I don't see an energy, even if there were the Super Rod Nest Ball combination we see that could bring back the Radiant Greninja to draw with concealed cards.
A lot of players do opt for lines like this. You think, what is the worst case scenario for me? What if my opponent has this? What if my opponent has that? And then you have to shake your head and say, that's pretty unlikely, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's what Grant Shen is opting for right now.
Sama Zenta.
It does have its augmented damage available on Retaliate, but 3 energies to attach is a pretty tall order off of only 1 Matang, with 5 energy still in play. And Andrew Hedrick with, I think, 1 Super Rod in the hand.
Yeah, I've seen at least 1. To find a Star Chronos turn, it likely means that you're using that Iono on this turn, but you're not attacking a relevant Pokemon. That Radiant Greninja is not much of a threat anymore to you. You'd like to combo that with a card like that Prime Catcher, But then which Pokemon is moving? You don't have a free
Pokestop looking
treater.
for Ultra Ball.
Oh, no. Those aren't great. Super Rod can at least bring that Pokemon back into the mix.
That is more Metal Energy in the discard pile. Considering putting the Dialga V-Star back in, maximize the chance of trying to draw this. Super Rod puts those down, and looks like it might just be an Iono after all.
Basically mulligan to the Pokestop. That was a mistake. I'm gonna put those back in.
And you know that it's an awkward position as the Dialga player when you're being forced to dig desperately for resources like this to put attacks together. Grant Shen's intuition for this matchup has really paid off.
I mean, look at all these energies we're finding at this point.
That's
They're
three
all
for
over the place.
Zamazenta.
The issue is you haven't found the energies for for a Dialga V-Star. If Ultra Ball was the card that was found off of the Pokestop, then things are completely different. Boss's Orders is comboed with this. One energy goes to the active Pokemon, and then you have Star Chronos lined up to start to potentially work on that threat of double Baxcalibur that you're eyeing down here.
But wants to go for the boss's orders anyway. Double checking the resources, seeing what should come up. Is it a Baxcalibur? Is it a Chen Pao? Do I want two prizes? Then Star Chronos becomes almost guaranteed to take three. But Grant Shen in a position maybe to bring up Metang. It might be too little too late with 4 energies on Dialga V. So Andrew Hedrick has used the threat of Star Chronos to create space for himself to develop a board state like this.
Knockout onto the barrel, and that means that the Star Chronos strategy could come down to prime catchers, Ionos, leave your opponent with just one card remaining in hand, and hopefully Superior Energy Retrieval can't get the job done. Grant Shen can prep for these kind of things, though. The big piece is you cannot play down another EX Pokemon. You can't play down the Iron Hands, the Chen Pao, because your opponent will easily capitalize double Star Chronos knockout, Star Chronos Metal Blast.
And Grant Shen pushed his odds, pushed his luck last time. Just took out the Radiant Greninja, took out a Beldum, wanted to deny that draw engine to reduce the likelihood of Star Chronos, and it paid off. But I don't think he can take that risk once again. Superior Energy Retrieval finds 4 water energies. This will be enough to knock out the Dialga V in the active spot. And here comes some super colds. Is there going to be enough leftover energy, Kyle, to threaten Moonlight Shuriken, to still threaten Hail Blade?
This now puts the pressure on your opponent to evolve that Beldum at some point, or Radiant Greninja will be able to take that final prize card, as it looks like Chen Pao is lined up pretty well to remove this Dialga V for play.
And the second Dialga V on the bench, Andrew Hedrick had potential to just take a knockout with Zamazenta, of course, but the importance of maintaining the looming threat of Star Chronos has been something that Andrew Hedrick has leaned into heavily over the course of this weekend, and it does affect the way your opponent navigates these turns so heavily.
Grant Shen has made his hand and his deck Chen Pao, Super Rod, Superior Energy Retrieval, and Prime Catcher. He's got a couple other pieces in between, but with Pokestop and Industrious Incisors, Shivery Chill, he should be able to find the pieces to avoid Iono being as detrimental as Andrew Hedrick wants it to be. 1 prize remaining, but can Andrew sneak an additional turn? That is the question, and that's the card.
Even with Star Chronos, can't win this turn. Can take out Chen Pao. It might be the line you spoke of, Kyle, of getting rid of the Baxcaliburs, but thanks to the prepped energy on Radiant Greninja, the prepped energy on Chen Pao, just denying the Baxcalibur no longer guarantees victory.
We don't care about these. At this point, Chen Pao is able to take the knockout. You see those energies lined up. Knocking out the Barrel in combination with Iono seems to be potential, and the Mew EX is played down now too.
Now that there really isn't any harm to put this in play, might as well get it out of the hand. Andrew Hedrick, and this is with the potential of Star Chronos, knocks out Chen Pao, uses a boss or what have you to get rid of the Radiant Greninja, Grant Shen will still have access to Buster Tail and simply needs that prime catcher to bring up a Metang and take the final prize to close out this first game.
Still need to see at least one energy from the Metal Maker for the Dialga V-Star in order for Star Chronos to be live. Iona will be used first. This gives you an opportunity to find a card like Super Rod to maximize those chances. Yeah, it seems likely, but we've seen many a time where this card either finds 3 medals or no medals.
Yeah, maybe even a Metang for good measure. Having 2 shots would be great from this point. Ultra Ball to thin down a little bit more.
Super Rod found as well.
Oh, it's beautiful, Kyle.
Well, now we get your favorite debate where you can play down this entire hand and then have the choice of Restart or Metal Maker.
Based on the amount of energy that are in the deck versus the discard pile, well, there's a big clump of metal energies right there in the middle. And then I think that this is exactly the sort of line that Andrew is also weighing. How many are in play versus in deck versus in the discard pile. With a Super Rod, I certainly think it's just Super Rod. No, you restart, then Super Rod, then double Metal Maker.
All right.
Because you've already attached from your hand for turn, so drawing energy is really bad. So you just draw now while the odds are at their lowest.
Andrew's going to try to find the pieces.
Because if you draw 2 cards, and if one of them is metal energy, you're still kind of coming out ahead because you're putting 3 metal energy back in the deck. So you want to thin down, I think, as much as possible.
Yep, now the debate here is you can use the Super Rod before all this, place the Radiant Greninja into the deck, and if you draw into that Pokemon, if you're finding those energies off of the restart, then it's not that bad because you could continue to draw.
But you're placing the bet now that you will find an energy alongside the Radiant Greninja.
Right.
At the end of the day, if you draw a Radiant Greninja and no energy, then restart is godlike regardless. So this is an oddly effective in-between play. The math for this deck is so arcane, Kyle. We can only begin to fathom it.
No. Grant's going to pretend to read that card as Andrew draws 3. He says, I've got 2 turns.
What? No energy. The deck is still chock full, Kyle.
Yep. Ultra Ball could find that Radiant Greninja like we were talking about too, that you could thin out 1 additional card. Maybe Metal Maker doesn't find Radiant Greninja.
He's
and
thinking
instead
about it. He's
it finds
thinking about
the
it.
energy you need. I mean, the odds are there. You're going to see 8 cards. But maybe if this one misses, you play the Ultra Ball. Uh-oh. 1. All right.
Studying these cards as well.
Okay, so this is also important. You see boss's orders. It goes to the bottom. You choose to make some metal. And you see
so
plenty of
that's
cards.
why he saved the Ultra Ball. If something important goes to the bottom, you
Prime
Ultra
Catcher.
Ball to shuffle to get those back in the mix.
Yep, Prime Catcher is also going to be thrown down to the bottom. So 2
Attaching
pretty nice
energy.
resources there.
Attaching energy to Metang to kind of get any stall plays headed off at the pass.
Also, yeah, this is that additional turn we were talking about using Star Chronos. Down to 2 prizes remaining, but there is no 2-prize Pokemon available. What is the worst spot you can put your opponent in? They already have 1 card remaining. Has to be eyeing down that barrel.
Try to Iono. Try to get Prime Catcher. Take out the Barrel. Leave Grant Shen with 1 card.
All right. Do you know which order the cards are in at this point? Because you've placed them down. You can research, and he believes he can find that Prime Catcher now in this spot. Should be in this top 7. He's hoping. There it is.
Yes, he's shaking his head. Remembering the order of the deck after you've Metal Makered and playing your deck in reverse is something that he talked about earlier on in the stream. So now with Bibarel coming up to the active spot with Mew EX, with Prime Catcher, with its free retreat, you can bring Dialga right back into the active spot.
1 card remaining here. This Pokemon should be out of the mix pretty soon. You've got 280 hit points in the active and 1-to-1 prize cards. quite a turnaround when you get an extra turn. No answer with the Radiant Greninja. All the hit points are there.
Grant Shen gets one draw plus potential for concealed cards and potential for Pokestop to get some fuel for superior energy retrieval. Try to take up a Buster Tail plus Prime Catcher play. After the restart from Mew, Dialga V-Star once again back in the active spot for Metal Blast to take down Grant Shen's draw engine. We thought that he had the line with one prize card remaining. It would be so cut and done, but draws for turn. Is there enough here, Kyle?
Is that superior energy retrieval? He just needs to see some items, finds a Prime Catcher.
Prime Catcher, but no superior.
There's not enough cards to use the superior energy retrieval and the Prime Catcher. Needed one more item.
Oh,
Can you incorporate Chen Pao into the mix? Is there any energies available? I feel like we've seen them already. Yeah, they're all there.
So he can't Chen Pao, Retreat, Chivalry Chill, concealed cards. There's not enough energy, right? 1, 2, 3.
One more item
6,
there.
7, 8. All 8 water.
I don't know yet. Okay.
The answer's not there.
I think I need to draw two.
So then Pokestop,
But
after
All right,
being
so-
used already.
You can use the superior energy retrieval, find all 4 energies. You have concealed cards. Now it just banks on what resources are left. But losing that Prime Catcher,
Is there a boss in there?
there's no boss in here.
That's all I'm thinking. Like, that's the only way to get around this Dialga, right? The Chen Pao, it's not possible to...
Might as well take a look. Sees 2 cards remain. Finds the Chen Pao. Are the energies lined up?
I thought I had one more energy.
No, he said he thought he had one more energy,
thought
but
I
that's
had
not
one
the
more.
case. This is going to be 240.
Yeah, not
Wow.
enough.
So close. But cannot get the job done against Dialga V-Star.
What a game one. Both players with one prize card remaining, digging deep into the dredges of their list to put these final attacks together. And the more I see this matchup, Kyle, the more similar I feel that these two decks are operating. How do you feel?
I can't get over the fact that Grant Shen almost won that game right then and there. He was one item away from closing out there. There was Earthen Vessel. There was Super Rod. There were. It didn't even matter what it was. As long as it was an item, he could hold on to the resources to close out in that spot, and was that close.
Yeah, had the Prime Catcher, just needed something else to discard with superior energy retrieval, power up Buster Tail, bring up a Matang.
Yep, it was all there, and Grant's going to wonder about, was there an opportunity to put another water energy back in the deck at some point in time?
There was that burning of the double nest ball. There was some liberal uses of Buddy Poffin early on in the game. And this is, of course, to thin the hand down to use Industrious Incisors.
You don't often think that you'll need useless item cards off Pokestop to get the job done, but Iono to 1 does that to you.
Taking down the Bibarels, 2 Bibarels at that over the course of the game to prep for the Iono to put him into that position was so smart by Andrew Hedrick, despite how awkward it was to build up Beldums against the onslaughts of Moonlight Shuriken, trying to establish Dialga V as a ticking time bomb in the active spot, threatening Star Chronos. And after taking all of these odd prizes, Grant Shen ends up on 1, and Andrew Hedrick properly recognizing his deck ordering to draw into Prime Catcher at the absolutely perfect moment.
Yeah, it's what we've been talking about and what Andrew Kennett was talking to us about. It's so important to know exactly what resources you're maneuvering there. See the
Another
prize cards
pretty
laid out.
clean prize map.
Yeah.
Nothing really interesting stuck in there. Going to be a good, clean game, too.
All right, we are underway here. Grant Shen starting things off. Going first. It's such an important benefit in this matchup to be able to threaten with that Moonlight Shuriken. And Andrew with the lone Beldum.
Yeah, this is Andrew Hedrick's biggest fear. Chen Pao goes first, gets all set up with Frigibax and Radiant Greninja, and once it passes over to Andrew Hedrick's turn, his Beldums are very, very vulnerable. And folks, it doesn't matter if you're playing the 60 HP Beldum, the 70 HP Beldum, Moonlight Shuriken does not care.
You haven't been able to see the rest of the hands, but of course, that Shen Pao in the active spot generally just leads to great things happening. Those energy cards, being able to throw those away with Ultra Ball and find those resources you need, know where those water energies are for the first superior energy retrieval. Oh my goodness. This hand.
I think I saw Radiant Greninja, if I'm not mistaken.
This is great. There's Hisuian Heavy Ball, Nest Ball, Rare Candy, Radiant Greninja, and now these energies to go along with it. You have to think that the ability for a turn 2 Moonlight Shuriken will be available.
And if you're Andrew Hedrick, once you see these Pokemon hitting the bench, you're already starting to sweat. You've got to think, okay, I've got one Beldum in the active spot. And what's your ideal bench? 2 Dialga V, Radiant Greninja, as many Beldums as you can fit. Will it be enough? You might even have to forego the Dialga, which is so terrifying as well. Sure, if you get your Matangs, then you're leaning too heavily into Zamazenta, which is vulnerable to Iron Hands.
Free Frigibacks from the concealed cards, and now Nest Ball search out some additional Pokemon. Rare Candy, Ultra Ball in hand. There's no pressure on that opening turn, so you don't have to overextend and look for another Frigibacks in this spot. You can feel pretty comfortable with this hand. Now you have to kind of play it off as, this isn't a hand you want to Iono. I didn't really accomplish much, did I, Andrew?
And Grant Shen held on to the Hisuian Heavy Ball, right, after studying the opening deck search during Shivery Chill. Wants to keep that item as discard fodder. Very nice efficiency there. Andrew Hedrick, meanwhile, not even going to show us the hand, just goes Iono.
Grant couldn't even stop. He just smiles. He's like, man, I just put the best hand on the bottom of the deck.
Am I good?
And that Hisuian Heavy Ball is still going to be in there for later on down the road, Kyle.
Oh, this hand is so much worse.
Okay, the Beldums are here.
Yeah,
Beldum triplets.
For Andrew, this is great. He's finding some of those resources. Nest Ball can find that Dialga V, and you're just hoping to only lose one Beldum this turn.
This matchup is such a dogfight. Both players zooming along on this parallel path, trying to establish their game plans, trying to establish their combos and strategies, and then they overlap and clash at these key moments of interactions once their attackers are established, trying to knock their opponent down a couple pegs and pull further ahead in that race.
Yeah, classically, you'll see Grant be able to extend an early advantage, and that's just what that Star Chronos is there for. You have that ability to fight back, and Grant has to plan for 2 turns at every point in time, and that is the problem. When you only have 5 bench spaces, you can only play down 2 Excalibur, 2 Barrel, 1 Shen Pao, because you can't play down 2 and give up all those prize cards. And then there's that opportunity, of course, attack the hand size if you overextend and take too many prizes.
The strategy for Shen Pao of having multiple attackers ready to go in play was something we saw a lot of Grant Shen establishing with Shen Pao and Radiant Greninja over and over again. But ideally, you want both Shen Pao EX. And I think if Grant Shen can land a really clutch Moonlight Shuriken, take out some Beldums, that opens up so much breathing room for a second Shen Pao to enter play and continue to keep this up.
We are
pretty weak
shifting
turn.
gears. Zamazenta.
This is an attacker that's great in the matchup. You know, still hits Shen Pao for weakness. You're all fine there, but it still needs retaliate damage, even with weakness. Something must be knocked out to activate that bonus damage. And so Andrew Hedrick going for Magnetic Lift. This 60 HP Beldum from Silver Tempest, if I'm remembering correctly. You search your deck for 1 card, shuffle your deck, put it on top. It's just a Cypher Maniac's code breaking, or half of one that ends your turn.
Forest seal breaking.
Forest seal breaking. I love it.
It's just enough for Andrew, and now in this spot for Grant, he's going to play down as many resources as he can. Buddy Poffin along with that Shivery Chill. Load up the hand with the water energies, play down those additional basic Pokemon, and hope to see Irida or a code breaker with that Radiant Greninja. Give yourself that ability to threaten a decent setup. You already have the knockout onto the Beldum as just a simple attachment of energy, but you really want to get a board state now.
And you think players might shy away from going for knockouts on this Beldum in the active spot or going for Moonlight Shuriken because of the threat of Zamazenta, but it's the exact same I bet you don't got it mindset that Grant Shen showed us in game number 1. You're still going to need Matangs in order to power up the Zamazenta just to take a revenge knockout.
Yep.
There's no Dialga V, no threat of Star Chronos. So this is Grant's moment to blow this game wide open and pull irreparably ahead.
Yeah, your opponent hasn't shown you anything. Grant is going to take some risks at this point, and you might as well. Excalibur into the hand. I believe we see that Pokestop as well. You can attach this energy for the turn, play down Super Rod, and then you can use Industrious Incisors. Follow that with the Pokestop if you don't see the supporter you're looking for. And if any of those cards are rare candy, Moonlight Shuriken's taking out 2 Beldums this turn.
And already Grant is calculating it. I love the Super Rod here, putting that extra energy back in. Pokestop ready to go. Ripperell found. And if you're Andrew, if that does come to pass, Moonlight Shuriken comes through, Beldum goes down, second Beldum goes down. I wish, Andrew Hedrick was the type of player that would look at his hand when it's not his turn so he could speculate a bit about what his lines are. That turn was a little weak. I see a Pokegear, but that's really all he has.
Rare candy needs to be fine here off the Pokestop if you want to really start to light things up. Not the case. Irida. Order lull.
There's going to be a Hail Blade. Discard 1 water energy, takes the knockout. Still confident that there's no Matangs. Whoa, right up the top.
How did that happen?
The magnetic lift. How about that? The Matang sacrificed, the Beldum sacrificed itself to ensure that its brethren could evolve.
Yep,
Who could have possibly seen that coming?
You're already 9-0, and you just continue to get this lucky in the finals. How does he do it?
But
Professor's
one Matang
research
is found. You can get an attach from the hand onto Zamazenta, and with the research, finding hopefully a second Matang or an Ultra Ball, you've got 2 shots at finding 2 energy to strike back against Chen Pao.
Immediately in the window, you see that Ultra Ball. That's second Matang. You have 8 opportunities to see 2 energy cards. I like those chances.
Seems like pretty high odds to me, Kyle. There's an Ultra Ball indeed. Ultra Ball for second Matang. Ultra Ball for another Dialga V. It's got to be Matang.
Yeah, no real question here at this point. You have an opportunity.
Protect them from the Moonlight Shuriken. Get a ton of energy. Any excess energy you gain here will go onto the Dialga V. Keep that next attacker ready to go.
It's such a difficult Pokemon for Grant to deal with. It's a single prizer, knocks out your Chen Pao, and one-hit knockout. And what do? You return with a Chen Pao of your own, and you see the Prime Catcher and the Super Rod added.
Very nice Pokestop.
None of those were metal energies, and looks like Super Rod is ready to be played as well. So plenty of metal to be made here.
So once these go back into the deck alongside a Dialga V, I like that as well. Once again, a pseudo mulligan off the Pokestops, and those Pokemon, those cards right back into the deck. What's so great about the Zamazenta as well is it's just global pressure in this match. Once it gets powered up with energy, has a little bit of extra HP thanks to its ability. Once it has energy attached, it takes 30 less damage from attacks. You have to extend just that little bit more to take it down. And if you try to Prime Catcher or Boss around it to take out other key targets, that Retaliate will bring it right back into the active spot to strike back and reap vengeance.
All right, first opportunity, we see 1 metal energy.
Ooh.
Let's leave it all down to this last one. Grant's trying to use his one time.
One time. It's there. It's there. Ooh. Just enough energy. No spillover for Dialga V, but this is the minimum that you were looking for if you're Andrew Hedrick.
Yep, Retaliate lined up. Chen Pao knocked out. Prize advantage over to the Dialga player for the first time in a long time. Grant Shen on the back foot.
Radiant Greninja arrives in the active spot, but finds that his targets, Beldums, have grown up. This is post-time skip. They've evolved into Metang, and the Radiant Greninja is left without any really great targets. In order to take down the Zamazenta, has an effective 160 HP.
Yeah, there's a couple ways you could go about this situation. You could avoid the Zamazenta altogether. You could work in the Iron Hands, use a Prime Catcher, try to take down Metang. Maybe go after the lifeline of the deck, which is the energies that can be accelerated.
That is valid. If you knock out a Metang, Zamazenta doesn't knock out the Iron Hands EX right away.
We see the Irida.
And this is going to be Irida for Rare Candy. One more water Pokemon. Iron Bundle is the grab. I think Baxcalibur was already in the hand. So the acceleration engine of the list finally coming to fruition. It's just a matter of finding the appropriate attacker. I'm not sure if Shen has located his Lightning Energy yet. Still needs the Super Rod to return Iron Hands EX back into the deck.
Trying to play this down. There's the Baxcalibur.
Shen is flipping through his hands so fast, Kyle. I'm like trying to see, is there an earthen vessel? Is there Super Rod I'm seeing?
It's not there. If it's in the discard pile, then sure, but I don't know. I don't believe we've seen it just yet.
Once Shen has calculated the line and starts to follow through, you can't keep up with the blur of cards. Knows this deck back to front. The godfather of this archetype, if you want to be that generous. The CEO. And knows exactly what he must do from this position.
Well, the ordering's a little off. Iron Hands is in the discard pile, and the Lightning Energy is in the deck, so that's not going to work for you. It's a huge debate here for Andrew, as he doesn't want to walk into the potential of that Iron Hands Metang strategy, but you also don't want to lose your Star Chronos potential. But what knocks this out? Chen Pao. We've got Zamazenta. That works out pretty well.
I like this idea of Shen just knocking out the Dialga V. If there's no threat of Star Chronos, you can count on the game going at a more predictable pace that you can potentially take advantage of.
Well, this is also a way you can go about this. You're trading 2 for 1 if you can continue to recycle the Radiant Greninja. You can attack both Metang, and I'm sure you're wondering, well, why don't we go after this Zamazenta? That ability is a huge issue there. It would be only 6 damage counters you'd place on that Pokemon afterwards, so even going after it twice, you still would not knock that Pokemon out.
And that's a turn passing with no knockouts taken, so Retaliate only deals 100 base damage. Andrew Hedrick, however, responds with the evolution into Dialga V-Star, benches a Beldum, and has 2 Metal Makers to high roll into a Star Chronos right now, Kyle. Can we see it one time?
Maybe just Prime Catcher of Baxcalibur would work too. You have a little bit of time here. You can put some pressure on your opponent. I guess the debate now is, are you more worried about the Baxcalibur or the Barrel? But knowing that the Baxcalibur, the second one, is hanging out here in the discard pile.
Refresh my memory. Is Bax weak to metal?
I believe
as
so.
well?
Yes.
All right, just double checking. I'm always so worried about just knocking out Chen Pao's, but going after Baxcalibur has been a key strategy for this matchup for quite some time.
Yeah, it lines up very nicely here. You can remove that Pokemon, put all the pressure on your opponent to find the Super Rod, which clearly they weren't able to show you previously, or they would have gone for maybe that Iron Hands we talked about. And
benches Dialga V. Now the pressure begins to mount. The Radiant Greninja threatening to Moonlight Shuriken take down these Metangs, but with 2 more turns, getting reps of Metal Maker. I think enough energy can be accelerated this turn that manual attachments are enough to get him there over the finish line into Star Chronos territory.
Yeah, maybe Andrew wanted to play that Buddy Poffin before the Nest Ball. Now that card's stuck in the hand, but either way, finds that Dialga V, fills the bench up. And now you want to make as much metal as possible, start to load up, have those attackers ready to roll for when you can potentially have that additional turn. We're just throwing away resources, but that's how it goes sometimes.
Now that Andrew Hedrick is set up in play, is giving up a lot of utility, doesn't want supporters, doesn't want responsive cards any longer. Thin the deck down, turn this entire deck into metal energy. 3 found off the first metal maker.
Hang on a second.
So about that Star Chronos idea.
You don't put all your eggs in that basket just yet. Safety first.
Andrew Hedrick plays so smart and respectfully when any other player would go mad with power. Every other Dialga player would have full attach there and just gone mad with power.
We haven't seen energy attachment for the turn. It's still there.
He's so patient, so much disciplined with the power of this Dialga V-Star. Doesn't want to use the Star Chronos until it's absolutely 100% devastating for Grant Shen. It's just going to say, I've already got the knockout in the active. I'm going to keep this split threat of stacking up multiple possible Star Chronos for when the time is right. Baxcalibur goes down, forcing Grant Shen's hand. Do you have another rare candy, my friend?
Man. I mean, look at
I'm so
Grant
angry,
Shen.
but I have to respect it.
He's disheveled. How do I do this? There are 9 metal energies in play. An inevitable second turn looming for your opponent who's already up to 2 additional prize cards on you. And you have no Baxcalibur. They're all in the discard pile.
Andrew Hedrick showed up at this tournament not anticipating this much Chen Pao and was forced over the course of 2 days to learn it very quickly. And Grant Shen going up against Dialga, a deck he certainly wasn't expecting to play against in the finals of the Indianapolis Regional Championships, but now is thinking quickly, goes for Super Rod to bring Frigibax and Baxcalibur back into the deck. And Iron Hands EX, is that still an option? No, just wants the second Baxcalibur instead.
Yeah, at this point, you almost need to threaten both of those as your opponent. If they steal an extra turn, even one boss's orders removing that threat would mean game over.
So with Baxcaliburs now loaded into the deck, Grant Shen can still keep the Super Cold alive and well. It's a matter of getting around this Zamazenta, trying to cut off this Dialga V-Star on the bench that is 1 energy away from Star Chronos. Pipperell for 1 card, plenty of Iridas in hand. That's going to be the play here. Can find Rare Candy and Baxcalibur. And I guess, Kyle, it's Moonlight Shuriken, take out the Matangs, hope that Andrew Hedrick doesn't have another metal energy in hand.
He doesn't even love Rare Candy Baxcalibur because you can't capitalize on the situation. If you evolve that Pokemon, that's a precious resource, but the other side of that coin is your opponent can Iono you, and you lose the opportunity to have that Pokemon once more. So the 2 Frigibax threatening seems a little more valuable in this spot. And Radiant Greninja's basically made its mind up already.
This is the weakness of the deck, so to speak. You're funneled into situations like this where you must meet threats with very specific attackers. And if those attackers put you in an awkward spot, in a terrible liability, the deck can really struggle to find its footing. After Moonlight Shuriken finishes the job, takes 2 prizes, and knocks out the Matang, no more metal will be made as yet. It's back over to Andrew Hedrick. Retaliate is back online thanks to those knockouts. Zamazenta can take the prize card here in an active spot, or will Andrew Hedrick Star Chronos to put himself down to 1 prize card remaining?
To virtually seal the game, double boss's orders would be that avenue. You have the energy attachment for the Dialga V-Star. Radiant Greninja can start to inch you 1 step closer as we see that boss's orders hanging out in the deck.
There's a lot of metal energy already in play. There's 2 in the hand. So something needs to retreat or get knocked out for Super Rod to even make Metal Maker worth. And I think that Andrew Hedrick has done the damage.
I'm finally excited for the Mew EX to come down, but there's no metal energies left to potentially copy a Moonlight Shuriken and remove the Frigibaxes.
That's always such a cheeky line. It's one that you can do in several different matchups, but Andrew Hedrick has time and time again shied away from benching that potential two-prize liability.
Just wants to see other cards.
Ooh.
That's fine.
Just gets a super rod. We're all good, Kyle.
Of course, you still have a little bit of time to find the second boss's orders. If the plan is to target down both of these Pokemon, if there is no Baxcalibur, the game ends when Grant finally is allowed to play Pokemon once more after the Chronos.
Super Rod putting key Pokemon back into the deck. Buddy Poffin picks up the Beldum that was just returned with the Super Rod. Nice full bench. Potential for more Metal Makers on Metang. And
this goes back into that manipulation that you can start to do when you only have, 12 to 15 cards remaining in deck. If you take that Star Chronos turn and then evolve into these Metangs, find the Metangs, whatever it may be, you can see where the boss's order is. If you haven't seen it yet, then you have the ability to maybe draw into that with Radiant Greninja or use a shuffle effect to give yourself better odds.
This is incredibly fascinating.
Finds the Metang.
And Andrew Hedrick manipulating a thin deck like this is something you usually only used to see in Lost Zone decks, maybe older styles of Dialga pre-rotation with Energy Recycler. Manually retreats the Zamazenta to bring Dialga V-Star into the active spot. There's still one more Metal Energy in the hand to attach for turn.
Yep, you can use Metal Maker. You'd rather not attach this energy for the turn, so you can hold on to it for the turn following Star Chronos, so you can reuse that Radiant Greninja once more. If that finds the boss's orders, then you basically seal this game out.
Yeah, that's very smart.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to see the Metal Maker.
So there's the attachment.
Okay.
No boss in these
cards. None of those
cards
are boss's orders. And there was one energy. Yeah, I'd have to think that's not ideal. If you could hold that energy to dig a little further, that'd be better.
And what's beautiful is after benching the Beldum and then using Star Chronos, your next turn comes back around and you can evolve this Beldum immediately. So that's another Metal Maker that Hedrick has potential access to. Not a lot of fanfare with this with this V-Star power being used, but you can see how meticulous he has been with this deck, approaching Dialga V-Star with a completely new mindset. This isn't a deck that wants to Star Chronos immediately. I can save it for this late game scenario and pull so far ahead that my opponent has no hope. Draws the Metang now, thanks to concealed cards, conserving that energy in the hand.
Yeah, we didn't see the boss's orders played, and then Pokegear was found, which could have found another boss's orders. Double Frigibacks could have been removed, potentially, if you find that resource. But this also leads to a board that's basically insurmountable from at this point. You're going to have two fully loaded Dialga V-Stars ready to roll. Just leave enough energies to retreat a Pokemon if your opponent is able to prime catcher you and try to stall out at this point.
That's exactly the line, Kyle. Andrew Hedrick says, I don't care if you have another Baxcalibur, if you can get a Chen Pao in play, powered up, even Iron Hands at this point. I have every option under the sun to attack with, and as long as Metang doesn't get stranded in the active, we should be good to go.
Metal Maker.
Metal Maker, once again, not seeing boss.
Yep. Sees energies and doesn't care about them as well. You'll have access to those energies at any point in time with Metal Maker down the road.
Yeah, I love the discipline here, leaving these in the deck so that Metal Maker can attach these to anything that possibly gets stranded in the active spot.
One prize card remaining for Andrew Hedrick.
It's back over to Grant Shen. One Frigibacks remaining, no Chen Pao currently in play, one Pokestop, and a Dream. Draws for turn. It's a Buddy Poffin. Chen Pao's in the hand. There's an Irida to be played. Rare Candy's there, too. But how many energies is it to knock out 280 HP?
Well, prime catcher. You can try to stall, use... Yeah, it's not even worth giving it a shot at that point. Dialga V-Star and Andrew Hedrick are making their way to a third regional championship here in Indianapolis.
Absolutely phenomenal to bring a breakout deck like this to Indianapolis. Believe in the hype. I heard a rumor this beats Charizard, and instead showing up at the venue and playing against more Chen Pao than you can shake a stick at. Learned the matchup on the fly and piloted it beautifully.
Yeah, there's so much metal weakness all over the top 8. You had to think that Andrew would be able to find a way at that point. 9-0, over and over and over again. How does he do it? And then just continues. I mean, it's not guaranteed at 9-0 to even find your way to the top 8.